Well, China has come up with a lot of measures and new laws. No? For instance, fishing regulations imposing a fishing ban in their areas, which would mean that their fishermen will move southern, more south, no? of the regular fishing areas. This would be in areas that are traditionally fished by Filipinos. No? That's only one. No? It's, of course, the virtual occupation of Scarborough Shoal. Has prevented Filipino fishermen from using the area. Pressure also, well, some call it a blockade, no? But the attempt to prevent the Philippine government from resupplying and reprovisioning our troops in one of the smaller islands, a smaller reef, actually. No? That sort of thing has been going on for some time. No? And this has it comes up to for the Filipinos. It appears that China is exercising domestic jurisdiction, applying its own laws in an area that is really disputed.
Well, actually, we have to make a distinction between China's words and deeds. And China, have repeatedly said that, they want to rise peacefully. And this is also our wish, to see China to rise peacefully as well. But recent actions by China, have raised concerns in Vietnam, in the region, that perhaps, China has departed away, from the peaceful rise. That is not, in the final analysis, good for the Chinese, good for the region. And we don't want to see that happen.
Well, on the one hand, you can see that the governments try to exercise some restraint. No? On the Philippine side, certainly you wouldn't expect any provocation when you have, ships in close contact. No? And on the Chinese side, their move to send their Coast Guard or fishing authorities rather than the navies also tries to convey that message that while they administer their laws, they exercise their sovereignty, they try to put a less threatening face on it. No? Now, of course, given the asymmetry, it doesn't really come out as less of a threat to Filipinos. No? Especially the encounters that we have are not so much between ships, official ships, no? But between official ships and fishermen on both sides. No? And so in that sense, there's less of a risk of escalation. However, as we saw recently in the incident with Vietnam, and a Vietnamese fishing vessel was sunk, there's much less restraint now. No? So I think that the risk is there. It's increasing.
China's intention is quite clear that China has wanted to take over the areas within the 9-dash line. China wants to control that, to dominate that area. So that is the long-term goal for China. So I think that China will take unilateral action to do whatever it can in order to control, to dominate that area. And the 9-dash line is the mother of all the problems. So if the country in Southeast Asia, if the international community can persuade the Chinese and can make the Chinese understand that that is the key problem and make the 9-dash line invalid, and then we will see the peaceful environment. You will see that all the other issues to be managed in the region.
We're not very clear. That's precisely the problem. I mean, there are many reasons that might account for why China is being very assertive or even aggressive in some cases here. There are, but we don't know if there's really a game plan. No? Yeah, at the end of the day, what does China want? No?
Recently, we see that the U.S. has been strongly committed to its rebalancing the region, and the countries regions welcome U.S. role to bring peace, stability, security, and prosperity for the region. And we think that given the new development in the region, the country in the regions and the U.S. look forward, look towards the same direction, and we also see that the same direction could be seen in the relations between ASEAN and China. So ASEAN countries want the US still to play that active role to bring about peace and stability for the entire region.
Well, certainly, more recently, the statements coming out of the U.S. government and in support of the weaker claimant states here, and of course its allies, have become more reassuring. In a sense, I think there's a growing realization that this issue is important for regional stability. It's not just taking sides on the sovereignty issues. The stakes are far bigger than that. It has been more active and engaged. Now, the concerns about the long-term commitment, of course, remain. I mean, there are enough political and economic reasons domestically in the United States that would warrant some concern. What about after the Obama administration? Are we going to see the same commitment?